Hi, everybody. How are we all? So, hopefully, today we're there. Hopefully, we got you. Ben will give me the thumbs up and cheer in a minute, okay? Um, all I can say is we're really sorry about yesterday, all right? We don't know. A few of you, and I was really pleased. Actually, so many of you sat there and waited. I was kind of viewing myself, just trying to see what was going to happen. Do you know the most amazing thing about all these videos, though? We've got Bob in Virginia, Maria up in Wales, Frederick over in Kent. And you'll chat amongst yourselves. You've never met one another, but we brought you all together. I love that feeling, the fact that you've got a little bit of a community now. And it's really nice that we built that. And it's with your help. So thank you all very much for that. And I'm sorry yesterday was such a problematic afternoon. I tell you, we're running around like nothing else. And we got no idea. We still don't know why it wouldn't go live. Okay, so today I've set myself a task of playing with some texturing tools. We did some carving texturing a while back. Thought we'd try and do something a little bit different. So some of you might have or thinking of buying things like texturing tools. Where should we go, Ben? Okay, that's good. Right, so these are crown texturing tools. They have a wheel that spins with a different type cutter. We can have different cutters we put in. I'm going to show you those. Different sizes, we'll do different patterns. Quite amazing to start using. Now, I'm one of these people now. I have these. Okay. Just put them back on the lathe and try and make sure they don't roll away. It'd be interesting to know how many of you maybe bought them and then you've gone home and tried to use it and gone, don't work. Can't get it to work. I saw a man at the show using it, and I've done that. I've seen a man at a show using one of these. I get home, and do you think I get it to work? So I have this red roller toolbox that all my spare tools go in that I bought that don't work. That's where it's lived. So I set myself this challenge of, can I get this to work and do what I want? And my simple advice is practice. So with that in mind, this is this morning's practice session. Okay. There you go. Lots of different things, and we've been trying to do different patterns on these, different textures, everything else. So each of these has something slightly different. And that's my best advice, some way of practicing. Okay. So initially, when you get this home, if you buy yourself one of these as a tool, don't just think it's going to work straight at the pack. It will work. The question is, do you know what to do with it? So, kind of that scenario. So we're going to start off quite simple. All right, let me just take the table out. First thing then, there is two sizes of tool. So smaller one, just going to bring down here because I think that probably shows up against the grey background there better. So this has smaller wheel, goes round bar. Okay, there's a shaft back on here that I can undo that's adjustable. I can move it up and down. At the moment, I've moved it right back out of the way so I can use it for what we want to do to start with. I can take it off. There's also a score line down through here, which gives me a center point, and there's a scale on here, but we'll get to that bit later. All right, so then you get your handle. So smaller one, bigger one. Let's just bring it into comparison. Slightly different size, much bigger handle, more leverage. So small one back on the lathe bed, bigger one back in there. So we got our wheel, goes round, bolts in. Now, both of them have a bolting cutter. So small one, when you buy it, you get 3 cutters. Where do I reckon, Ben? We're going to go down to there. Look. So these are the 3 cutters for this, and there is different ones there. So if I just tilt it into there, I'm going to grab these 2 that I'm grabbing now. I can gently bring them up. Probably, maybe the bigger ones would be better, but you can see this has a chamfered edge, this side. If I flip this over, has a flat edge. That's quite important that you understand that. All right, so there's a chamfered type edge, and the best way I can describe that chamfered edge is like a bevel on the back of a gouge. So if you think about that bit, that's quite important. And then you have the back, very square. You get different teeth configurations. All right, so finer, coarser. Now I said there's 3 wheels, so those 2 both have a flat back and a bevel front. The third one has a shape, and I'll bring the bigger ones in, but this actually comes to a point center in the middle. There's a tip. So it's not flat on the back, actually comes up to a point either side in the middle, like a V. Okay. Bigger ones, in actual fact, pretty much the same. So I'm going to put them back in there. I'm going to grab one of these. Definitely easier to see. Now, these ones have a bearing in the middle. So the bearing allows it to spin. You have your tooth all the way around. This is finer one. The one there. Last one I want to show you is to swap tools because it's over here and I wasn't going to take it out. So the difference on these two, right, much coarser wheel on the one I'm holding. Finer one up there. Now those we can use to create our pattern. Then also I said the third wheel, which is down on here, and hopefully you'll see this a bit more on here. You get that center edge there. So this comes up to a nice point. You get your bearing in the middle. Right. So get the idea of those. Right. So let's just put that back out of the way. Going to move that, clear the lay bed for a second. Ben, how are you? You okay?
Okay, we're good.
Good. All right.
So Andrew Pogo has a question. He has the bigger tool. Do the smaller wheels fit on the bigger tool?
No. So whichever one you buy, you'd have to put the wheels onto the one you've got. Now, I can show you that a little bit better. Just really, I suppose, actually, if I think about that, the bigger one has a bearing, goes onto a bolt. The smaller one doesn't have that bearing, has to have a bush that goes into the middle. They are slightly different sizes. So your bigger wheels won't fit the bigger tool, the smaller ones will fit, okay? There are 3 manufacturers of texturing tools like this, all based in the UK. The history of the texturing tool goes back to one man, Tracy Owen. You're responsible for this, all right? So if you've never heard of Tracy, he's a woodturner based, I think, Canberra area up in the UK. Came up with this years ago. So he's really to thank for all the texturing stuff we're seeing using that type of tool. So thank you, Tracy. Then
David would like to know, how does the crown tool compare to the Robert Sorby tool?
Very similar. Okay, it's about as simple as I can put it. They both work the same way with the bearings, how they bolt in. The difference really with the crown one, for a quick thing for Frederick, is that square or that bit of bar here has a flat underneath. The Sorby one has a bigger bracket that goes on. To start with, I'm not actually going to use it so much with that. I'm going to use it, if you like, freehand to do the decoration. This is more suitable, definitely, for using for the spiral stuff we do, spindle work. So we're going to show you that a bit later. Okay, Ben.
And then Frederick's asking, well, he's often wondered whether the wheels are a carbide or a high-speed steel.
They will be a steel. They're definitely not carbide, okay? So they are just basically, they might be high-speed steel, but I would have thought they are a hardened steel. They might even be a carbon steel. I don't think they'd really need to have them high-speed steel, so more likely to be a carbon steel. All right, okay, Ben? Right, good. So we're going to start you off nice and simple. And that's about the best way I can get you to understand it. Now, I said to you, I bought one of these years ago and never really played with it. So this has been a good learning curve for me to get it out of the pack and go, what can we do with it? So I put the chuck on. If you're going to do something like this, the easiest way to start is something end grain. Okay, so this is a block of tulip wood that we use. You could use lime, sycamore, beech. I've gone 4-inch. You could get away with 3-inch squares. I've gone 4-inch because it shows better on the camera for you guys, really. So something as a size. So I've gone with a bit of tulip wood. It's nice to work with for this. My only thing, it's a little bit dusty. So we can load that in the chuck, get that in. That's easy. We need to skim that end. So we're going to grab tool rest into there. Lock it off nice and firm. Just need to skim that end up, get level. I've got a centered up from the 4-prong drive. I can check and get to that. Weird grip with this. You can see my left hand just come in. Take our speed down a little bit. That'll be good. I can rest the bevel. Trim my handle out. When we're shiving, going to come back off the edge. I can use my left thumb there. Give me drive. So I'm gripping around the tool rest. That gives me loads of room. But if you go back to camera 1, I think, my arms are, I can play chicken thing. But I've got loads of room. Instead of being here hunched up, this gives me a bit more room. So again, we can rest the bevel, push it across. My left thumb's doing the work, all the way to the middle. Up with the handle fractionally, find the center. Okay, we're going to start small tool. Just easier to start with. Now, the other thing I've got here, and I've done it just to make my life easier. Let's do this though. Where are we? Just undo this. So I'm going to take out now on the smaller tool, be it this or the Sorby. Frederick's already kind of asked. Then you have, there you go, there is a brass bushing or bronze bushing that goes in. No bearing on the small one. You have your wheel. They go in. All right, now I'm going to just swap it for slightly coarser one. So you can see what I've done. I've got picked up two. We want the coarser one. This one over here. Going to take that, put the other one safely out the other way. I want to put it in the right way round. Now, this is a tool. There is a big hole there, small one the other side. The small one is threaded. The big one, that brass bush passes into. Hope you guys can see that. That is good. The chamfer bit, I want facing the small hole. So the bolt bit that I'm using my fingers to do this up with is on the back of the tool. The chamfer is on the top edge, this side, the bolt's on the back. All right. I've also moved the collar back out the way. Other option for this sort of thing, we do the one with a micro handle. You can bolt this in, take it on and off, so you could use it with the handle. That scenario can be really good as well. All right, so if you wanted something where you're going to use the handle for more aspects, gouge, those little carbide tips we used for the pen stuff the other week, that's a good way of going with it. Okay, Ben?
So I've got a couple of questions here, Jace. We've got, sorry, it's just gone out, just pipped off. So David would like to know what the actual OD, so is that overall diameter of the large and small wheels?
Ooh. Do you know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I've never had to measure. So the bigger one, 38 mil. The small one, 20. All right, that solves that one. Next one.
Excuse me. Eric, sorry, he was going to ask yesterday. He's thinking about upgrading his T8, his Tormek T8, for the diamond wheel.
Yep.
He only wants to buy one, and he's thinking of the 600 grit, the fine wheel.
Yep. Okay. Now,
good idea.
I've got exactly the same scenario for home. I have my Totem, I have my grey wheel, which I use for shaping. I still have my bench grinder, to which I can do rapid stock removal. If you want to just touch things up, so your turning tools just to give them a really sharp edge, the 600 grit you said is fantastic. Okay. Benefits for it. Your setting jig, you won't need to move it about because you're not moving your wheel diameter, because you're not reducing it by using the wheel. So in other words, the bar stays in the same place, so you don't need to use your setting jig as much to measure it. The wheel doesn't change shape, being diamond wheel. You don't need as much pressure on that wheel, though. Keep it nice and light. Don't need to put as much force on it. If you're using it just to touch the tools up to give you a sharp edge, fantastic. If you want to shape stuff, you could put your old wheel back on really simply, or go to your bench grinder if you've got rapid stock to remove, would be my scenario. If, like I say, really what I'm getting at is, if you just want to touch those up and sharpen them, get them back to an edge quickly with minimal removal, great, go with a 600 grit, definitely. All right. Okay. So at the moment, we have our nice clean piece of wood. We've leveled the end, nothing there. Got a tool rest. Now, we've set this up. We've got the coarser wheel out the two in here. We have the bevel on the top edge, the bolt on the back. First thing I need to do, if I lay the tool on its side, we can look in. I'm level with the center point for the tool rest height. So in other words, if I drop it down, I don't want to be down there. That's exaggerating it. But we need to be able to get the tool about center. Still a bit low. Better. My handle's still a bit low. Bring it up. That should be better. Right? That's a really important thing. Next thing that can make a difference on this is where you get your angle of the tool. And when we're starting off playing with this, we all tend to get too carried away with trying to tilt it. To make it work, my best scenario with this is turn the work by hand with your chuck and check the little wheel goes round. So if I do it there, it goes round. If I do it, I turn it on its side, it creates a V groove. Might as well use a chisel for that if you want to make a V. So that's not going to work. All right. So let's just see from there. If I come in there and get that. We've got the bevel edge, so that gives me approach angle. I've come back a little bit with the tool rest. I'm going to move the banjo so I don't drop the height down. So I can get in here or get my hand across the top. It looks like you're getting near to the cutter. The cutter's going to spin away from my hand. So even if I catch it with my finger, it's not going to damage it. It's not going to trap it down between the bar. That's important to understand. Lathe speed. For this one, we're going to start about 500 RPM, give or take. So what we're getting at is quite a slow speed. So I put the lathe on. Let's take our speed down. If you've got belt change lathe, you can still go down to your slower setting. Will be good. Approach on here. I want to start with the cutter pretty much upright. Not this. We can do that as we go. At the moment, keep it nice and upright. And this is a learning curve, what you're going to get as a pattern. So I can come in a little bit angled towards the lathe. Get to there. Make sure the wheel goes round. Nice and firmly held. Count to about 5. We've had more than 5 now. We should get something as a little star effect in the middle. Okay. Try to see which one we're on. We'll hold these up in a minute. I can probably move. I'll move that. That's a bit better. Look. Okay. So we've got one. Now we was quite upright. If I tilt it a little bit, and you've got to hold nice and firm with the handle, we'll get a longer thing. Now I'm trying to be nice and firm with this, trying to push it in quite hard. Can be good. Now I'm going to come back up to upright. So we tilt it to about 1 o'clock. I'm going to come in, bit squarer there. A bit lighter in pressure for this. I can get a little dot. So depending on how much pressure you push in will deepen the effect. We can also make things longer. Now, to make the shape of the cut longer, it's about this tilt. The whole idea of having this bolt on the back, it gets it out of the way to give me access to do the cut, whatever shaping I want to do. So from here, we're over to about 2 o'clock. My left hand's working nice and hard to keep it on the tool rest. It'll want to winch it in. Let's have a quick look. I hope you can see that. Pattern starting to form. Have whatever you like. But like I said, best advice for this when you start off, have a play. Got to come back a little bit so I've got access to get the wheel over. Again, going to come in quite square. I can use the side edge, that chamfer, to get me on. Bring my hand round just a tiny bit. Get that one. A bit more over. I can also draw it out. So I'm pulling my left hand outwards. We're about a 2 o'clock on our clock face with the wheel. It's going round to there. Much longer spiral. Okay, we can play round. Now, just move the tool rest round. I'm missing. Okay. Touching tool. Let's have that. It's a good thing you can do with this. And this is my best way of starting. Bit more speed, bit low, like 800. Just going to part that off. Tiny bit to go. Let's have a quick look, Ben. So, I think you can see on there different patterns and effects. And it's quite a learning curve on which way you tilt the tool, upright, how it will affect it. All right. So the reason for parting off just means you can keep it. You could skim it off. You don't have to part them off. It could be nice to look at what you've done. So we're taking the speed up again. We're going to clean this end up. Nice and gently rest the gouge. Got the bevel on, left thumb's doing the work. Okay. I'm going to do a bit of an intermix now between. Let me just change the cutter bend, then I'll be back to you. One word of warning with this. Keep your workshop clean. All right. I did all my prep on one of the other lathes we've got in the room because there's nothing more annoying than dropping that on the floor, in amongst all those wood shavings. Ah, and it's not magnetic. So it does take a bit of hunting when you drop it. 20 minutes I crawl round for. Okay. Ben, what have you got?
So I've got a few questions come in, Jace. The favourite question from Frederick, can the cutters be sharpened? Because he's thinking of investing in one.
Okay. And what was your other question? That it?
No, we got another 3.
Okay, let's do Frederick first. Now, we haven't used the bigger cutter yet, but I want to do this on this because you will see it better. Okay, just sight-wise. In reality, what I've lined up now, big one and small one, are the same type of cutter. They are a finer tooth one. We could go with the coarser, it doesn't matter. But I want to go with the bigger one because you will see more. Diamond file. So, Frederick, when you go see Colwyn on Saturday, you want one of those as well. Okay. So, on here, this is 4 grades. What should we have? 120, 180, 320 is the fine. It's a bit too fine. 240 is there. Now, I've come parallel to the light bud. I've got about 1,000 RPM. I can run this on the side here. Okay, so it's going round. Trying to stay out the line of the camera. You can run it, get your diamond file, just on that edge, okay? I'm just going to come right down to this corner. Ben, can you go to 4, I think? I've got something I just need to do. Look, so change that wheel. Just need to tighten the bolt up slightly so the bolt's not going to fall out. Go to the... I tend to do that diamond file on that edge. You can see me working it on the top up here. That's all you need to do. All right, just sharpen, and that is sharpening that radius front edge. The back edge doesn't tend to get used, which is one of the mistakes I always made. Always assume this nice square corner will be better to cut with. The radius one is designed to give you better access and allow you, if you like, to rest that bevel front before you make your cut. Okay. So we've gone the sharpening, really easy, wasn't it? Ben?
So this from Hodgepodge. If you put the lathe in reverse and rotate the tool accordingly and cut to the right from center, would that give you a pattern in the opposite rotation?
We're going to do it.
Cool.
Okay. You can get a herringbone effect if you like. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do that in a minute.
Cool. And then Hodgepodge then goes on to say, if you did them on top of one another, would you get an X type pattern?
You can get a... You guys have been playing with this, haven't you? I've got bits down on the floor. I've got the one in the other room, especially on the long grain type patterns. You can get a crossover. Not as easy on here, but it is possible. So yes, you can. Okay.
Donna's come up with a suggestion that a little bit of colour might
can do. No, I discussed this with Ben. This was one of the things we looked at earlier. I mean, it's 25 past 3 already. By the time I start adding colour, get it dry, all those things makes it more problematic as a demo. But definitely you can add some colour. It'd be worth staining the whole surface, then putting some liming wax in the top will look fantastic. Great way of doing it. Okay, I'm going to go over the burnishing thing as well. I mean, I need to show you that. That's really important. Okay.
Philip's saying he assumes that you can't sand it.
So you'd sand before.
Smooth?
Yeah, I would sand this normally if I was going to do it as a finished object or a box lid or something. I would sand this before and then go from there. I can see this is going to end up as a 2-part session of this one, Ben. All right, okay, you're going to come back around to the front. I'm going to set up. Now, I've got the 2 cutters set up in here now. I've got 2 different tools, the luxury of in here, okay? So I've got finer, coarser one. All right, those 2 wheels. Got one more wheel we're going to bring in. I've checked my height. I've checked I've got the bevel on there. Going to go with the coarser one. We haven't used this one yet. Our speed, again, we can take back down. Drop it down. 500 is a good speed. It hasn't got to be spot on for this. Going to come in near the centre, nice and square with the handle. The roller. Great. Almost a little flowery shape in the centre. Wonder if I can get a bit nearer the centre. The centre's the problem bit with most of this because it's the slowest running bit. Get my wheel to go round. Going to come out a bit high. That'll do. Bit of a mess in there. No, that's great. I've made a dimple. Haven't got it right. Now, this is the whole aspect of playing, because you're never far away from just going, actually, don't like that. Let's clean it up. So if I was doing something like this on a box lid, I might even do this before I turn the inside of the box lid. That's another demo, isn't it? We didn't change our tool rest height, so I'm going to come back into there. So it's a bit too near the center. Pushing, get our effect. That one's a bit better. We could come nice and square like we've just done. Create a little star effect. How we go? We go smaller one, or finer wheel, sorry, it's a better way of phrasing it. At an angle about 2 o'clock. I can pull it out. Get a lovely long spiral on this. We'll show you in a second. We'll do the same as we did before. Take it up, probably put it in the chuck. Now that one we've come from, and again, bolts on the back, center outwards. Get a long spiral shape. Now in that question, let's see if we can do it. We've come from center outwards. Now you don't need to run the lathe in reverse. On here, I can turn this over. Got to be a bit careful, because the brass bolt on the back can unwind. But I can come back the other way. Not as steep as I'd like. We can always do another. I'm going to do this one because I just want to show you up on here again. Hold the chuck key. Different patterns. Okay, so long spiral pattern out the center, looks quite nice. Finer on the edge here. And this is all about, if you like, how you present it, what angle you come in at, how much pressure you put in. So let's clean up again. Just leveling off a bit hollow in the center. Not going to matter what we're doing. Come back. Haven't played my tool rest height, but just checking where we are. Lock it down. Okay, Ben's got another question.
So just a quick one before the question about yesterday's video with the with the love spoon. Yeah, really sorry we couldn't put that out as a live. It will be uploaded soon. There was a couple of little edits we had to do, so that will be up on the YouTube channel soon. Now we've got a few questions here, Jason. Are we going to look at side grain?
Going to try to. That magic thing.
Yeah.
If not, we'll always do more. Okay, I've got another one next week where I've got decorating elf, but we can always move things about or go back to this in a few weeks' time as well. So yeah, definitely. I want to try and cover. I've been trying to play with it quite a bit so we can show you everything. Kind of, how much can we get in an hour? Okay.
And then from Sol, does the tool cut deep enough that you could put a black spirit stain on and then sand it back?
You could do. So you can actually put your spirit stain, having sanded it, put your spirit stain on, then go over with the cutter. You can dig out those surfaces, especially on something like sycamore can be really good. All right.
And Lawrence is asking, what type of wood can the texturing tool be used on, such as hard and soft wood?
Okay, so if you're going to have a play, beech, sycamore, those sort of things will be good. Fruit wood, cherry will be good. Stay away from things like spalted beech. Too soft in place, it'll pull it out in the end grain fibers. So think of that. Some of the exotics can be really good and give you a nice texture. Even boxwood will be really good, especially for this spiral thing. We go down the grain. So those sort of things are worth playing with. Pine and softwood's going to be more problematic. You want something with a little bit of end grain density if you're going to do this. Okay.
Sorry, Jace. We'll let you get back on
it. Going to be a questions and answers session on just this in a minute. Okay.
So Frederick's asking, he says, that's brilliant. What about his craft lathe that will only go down to 700 RPM?
Okay, that will be enough.
Would it still
You'll be all right to go with down to 700. All right, that will be enough to give you a start point. Okay, major thing with this is trying to make sure you get your tool rest, your height, give yourself access to get in here. Okay, so at the moment, Frederick, you said about 700. Okay, let's give you an idea. That is the 721. Quite square in here. Get my little finger around. Make sure the wheel goes round. It's good. Let's come a bit more upright. Light one. You hear that? That's good. Working. A little bit of tilt, 2 o'clock. So I'm coming using the side edge again, where that rounded tip is on the tool. Let's have a quick look what we're getting. Okay. A bit of a crossover maybe then. So we said about, I'm going to go fine one. We haven't done a fine crossover. So radius top to there, get it working. Tilting at about 2 o'clock. I can pull it out. But tilt back the other way. So we're coming to about 10. I've got to watch that little bolt. I could take it out and turn it over. So my left finger's just supporting that, pushing it in. Pivoting on the tool rest is the best way to describe that. Right, okay, I hope. We'll take this out the chuck like we did before. Now we have that question about the fact of can you go like right and left? Takes a little bit of effort. On here we have spiral coming in there. These go the other way. Get down. You can see that. Get my little arrow I do with my pencil just to highlight that slightly. So you can actually get an almost like a herringbone effect. That's quite spectacular. You can do a crossover, not as easy on end grain. Okay, let's have a quick skim. Just the bevel. Take the speed back up, make my life easier. Again, I'm doing the work. Pushing in gently. Right, just going to do something while that one there. Just going to swap a cutter. I might regret this now. So I want to take that one out. Then.
Are the wheels available separately?
I think the wheels you tend to buy as a kit. So you buy the initial tool. I think the Sorby one you can buy accessories for. So yes, you can add on. All right. So it might be possible you could buy different ones. Now this one I put in what I would class as the texturing tip, not so much the spiral. So we're going to start what we've got on there. I need to bring that there. Check my height, a little bit low. Need to bring the speed down again. Where are we now? 771. That'll do about there. Final one. Near the middle again. We want to create something there. Being quite firm. Going to angle a little bit more. So I'm right over to about 3 o'clock. The wheel's still going round. I'm dragging out. Just going to stop there. Let's have a quick look in a second. I've changed it for the one where the wheel meets in the middle. Now, the reason I've started with the smaller tool, it's a bit more, I won't say user-friendly, but it's more adaptable, definitely for smaller work. Most of you are going to want, okay? So in here, this one, we can do a little bit of spiral work with it, but it's really made for keeping upright. So I'm going to bring my tool rest around a little bit. So you don't go tilting this too much like we've done with the others. You're going to keep it upright. This is about creating a pattern. The annoying, problematic thing I'm going to phrase this as, when you start, don't go pushing too hard. I'm going to keep it moving a minute. I'm working back and forwards along that section. My finger and thumb on the left hand, working at a pivot point. I'm keeping it here longer than I probably need to because I'm trying to explain what we're doing. Handles swinging round, okay? Okay, let's do something that maybe we haven't thought about as well. So we've got that. So you've got a box lid or something. We could do gouge cut in there. So you can recess areas around that. If we're change one of those wheels just back over. I'm going to change that from the texturing type tip to the core set of the 2 cutting wheels. Wonder if I can get it in there. I've got a lip we can work on there. Going to have to come in that side. Nice and firm, nice and square. Again, we're going to go up to that camera just to really give you a bit of an idea. Long spiral out from the center of those little dots. The recesses work beautifully. This is all about an orange peel type effect. Lots of different patterns you can make. And let's say, need to play if you go and buy some of this. Don't just thinking it's going to work first time. And that was my whole problem maybe when I got mine. Got despondent, wouldn't do what I'd seen a certain guy do. So Nick Hager, I hate you at times for doing things like this, but wow, okay. So, oh my God, I'm just going to clean that off. I know, it seems wasteful, doesn't it, cleaning these off. Ben sort of sat there like, I could use them, it's too late now, isn't it? Okay, we've done a lot of focus on the little one. Time's ticking on, I need to get that a little bit smoother. And this is the best way to start off, really. Have a play, see what happens, see what effects you get. I'm going to go bigger cutter. So bigger tool. If we got on the other one, we got, okay, bigger wheel. Right, Ben's got his hand at me, waving at me again. Calm then.
So Frederick would like to know, have you ever used wood burr carving bits?
Sorry, what?
Wood burr carving bits? I guess like rotary burrs?
Okay, would they work on this? Not so much. Thing which I was going to look at next week, things like the decorating elf. Okay, that's a bit different. That will do a different type of thing, has a different type of cutter. All right, so we'll look at that one next week, really, to go over that with you. All right, so that's why I wanted to separate them out, because they are different things and slightly different techniques. All right.
And Sol's asking, any advice on finishes? He thinks wax would collect in the.
You could do so. We're going to I'll show you how we can do a burnish thing in a second. Most of the guys with this probably use a stain. And then you could use a wax on top. So if you use things like the gilt creams, that sort of thing, you're putting a wax on. You could put an oil on in between the stain as well, and then put the wax. It will sink into where the recesses are that you've dented, if you like, those cut pores. So it'll go into those areas. But normally, if I was going to do this as a finish thing, now's the time to sand that flat, or your shape of your bowl. Do it now before you do that. On this, it's really about trying to be nice and quick, try and show you lots of patterns, and try and sort of figure out how I made some of the things I made earlier. All right, so on here, we're going to go bigger one. Exactly the same thing. It's got a lot more weight. I could do with this. I'm going to take this off. And this is worth showing you, actually. Just looking better. Okay, so I'll take my bolt out. That one. Carefully, put it somewhere. I'm going to pull this out. There is a washer. There is not the small one. Cutter, and then there's 2 washers there. The 2 washers have to go in the recess side of where the cutter tip is, on top of the bearing. Push them out, they've fallen in too far. Look. I'm going to take my bearing out now, I've got them in there. And then the other one sinks on the back. The reason I want to take them out, I need to take this collar off. Want it out the way to do what we're going to do. I'm going to just undo the 2 grub screws, slide that off. Got to put it back together. 2 bearings on or 2 washers on top of the bearing. It will go in. 1 on the back. Slide it in. Can be a bit tight. No, I haven't looked at, but we'll have a look and see where I am, which way up I've got it. Can't get things to line up. Use the Allen key. Wiggle it about. I'm hoping I've got my bolt in the right place without dropping it on the floor. Bolt's on the wrong side, Jason. See? So that was the thing I was worried about. So pull it out. I've got to turn it all over. Grip everything. Why am I worried about which side the bolt is? I want the bolt out the way of what we're going to cut. I don't want it interfering and putting pressure onto what I'm cutting or blocking the cut. So the bolt is better on the back. so we don't make the same mistake. That's threaded. So that's the top. Got a bolt in there. Okay. Nothing worse than trying to do all this on camera and not drop it on the floor. Allen key in there. Line it up. Good. A little bit fiddly. I said I'd drop it, didn't I? Got my bolt. Through. I can do it up. I'm away then. Nearly there. Okay. Now when you do this up, check. This spins. If it doesn't spin, you've done something wrong. If it doesn't spin, it's not going to cut right. So you've got washer in the wrong place. Don't go anchoring this bolt too tight, because all you do is pull the metal together. Just needs to be finger tight, so it's not going to unwind. Be enough. Okay, Ben?
Nigel's asking, could you cut a spiral into a stem of a goblet?
You could.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can. Okay, right. Okay, so we'll have a look in a minute. We'll do some spindle stuff. So on here, on again. Again, going to bring the speed down. This can be about 1,000. Going to start more center. Going to start upright. Right, something in the middle there. Looks quite nice. Ben's glued on this now. We can go a bit more of an angle. We could come out. We could change smaller one or finer too. Just rolling that a little bit. Sounds weird, doesn't it? And then more upright again. Like that. Be quick with this one. Go do one more pattern on this. But this will give you the scope of we're playing around with what we can get as different patterns. I love doing this. It's quite amazing what we can achieve with different things. Long spiral out from the center. So I'm going to put that back in there. We're going to skim it off. Do that long spiral is about how much you roll the tool. If you're upright, you'll get something quite square, like we've got a ring around the edge. The more tilt you add, the more spiral you can make. That's important to understand. You can only go about 2.5 on your clock face. Coming wider, it's easier to do. Nearer the center, more problematic. The peripheral speed near the center is traveling slower. It will want to pull it in towards the middle a little bit. Just going to skim this bad and then we'll do you. Now I need to do a little bit of how you clean up and stuff. Try and do the spindle one, I think. Okay, Dan, what have you got?
So I've got a question here. Going back to earlier, since the small cutters don't fit his bigger tool, would you recommend getting the smaller tool to get all those cutters, or to get extra wheels for the big tool?
Depends where you want to use it for. If you're going to do lots of smaller work, okay, so box lids and things, the smaller tool will be more adaptive. If you want to use it as an all-round thing, the bigger one can be really nice, definitely for bowl work. If you kind of gave me that, I would go with both, and I love what I'm going to do now, and I can't do it with the small tool. All right, so what we're going to do now, and it'll show you why, you know, the size of the cutter and everything relates to what you can get as a pattern. So the bigger diameter wheels than you have on the bigger tool will give you a slightly different pattern. On here, we're going to start almost upright, near the middle. What we're then going to do, going to roll the tool as I come out. So I'm coming over to 2.5, 3 o'clock out near the edge. All right, so I've got to be there. I want to come up just a little bit. Got the tool rest quite a long way back. It's quite amazing that you need this sort of leverage to get in here. You've got to be able to trap things in place nicely. Make sure things are nice and tight. Speed, as we said, under 1,000 for this will be good. Got to bring it down just a little bit. So I'm going to start just off center. Going to start to cut. And as I go now, I'm gently rolling my wrist as I'm pulling it out. Keep your nerve a little bit. Keep things traveling. Nice and firm on the tall rest of your left hand. A lot of body movement. I think, Ben, just go back to camera 1, just have a look at this. Look at my camera. Okay. Right, so nice and firm with that. So what does this give us? Sorry, Ben, I know you're just getting impatient. You can't see from where it's at. Ooh, now that, with some black dye, some red paint or wax to highlight, it can look fantastic. Lovely long spiral. Doesn't that look amazing? Now, if I turn it slowly, we can do hypnotic wood turning. Okay, concentrate on it, focus. Okay, so lots of things you can do with that. Okay, let me do a quick change. I need to, I can't see the pin. Oh, I got it. It's on there. Okay. We could keep doing what we've been doing for hours, believe it or not, and play around with lots of different patterns. I do love making the different patterns. I know we didn't show you. We need to do that. One thing, look. And then we'll do a little bit of spindle work. One of you kind of asked about that sanding thing. Difficult to sand this after. Best way you can sand this, and I've got some on the floor but not many. Okay. Wood shavings. So you can take your speed up a bit. This will take the fluffy edges off of what you've just left. Okay. Gives you a nice burnished finish. I don't know if that looks shinier. We go to there. Cleaner edge. So just that burnishing with the shavings. Once you've initially sanded it, cut your pattern, then do that. Dead easy to do. I love that as a spiral effect. Little star in the middle, spiral comes out as you go down. It looks quite wow. All right, so take the chuck off again. Drive center. Just going to put the tailstock back on the line. I've moved it so I didn't catch my elbow on it earlier. We've got Pro Drive, ring center, bit beach. I've got two options down here, a bit of boxwood or a bit beach. Some of you will probably complain if I use boxwood, and it's like kind of cheating, isn't it? Probably. So, bit beach, nothing special. No spalting in it, or nice and clean, no cracks. I turned it just down to a straight cylinder. Go on there. Ooh, now I've got to remember. Gonna go bigger tool. Got to go for that palaver again of just swapping over. Not so much the cutters. This thing on the bigger tool. What we're gonna do. Then go overhead, I think. On here, just trying to get position right. There's a line down through here. I think you can see it. Okay, good. That's the top. I'll turn this over. This is the collar that fits on it. There is almost like a clock dial on the top of that. Little lines, they show. Good. Put that on. So this gives me a setup position. If I tilt it, I can go back to it. So I've got a center one. I can come off center. Equal amount either side. Just going to pin that in place. Going to go with wheel. We're going to go finer one, I think. We do coarser one in a minute. I got on the other tool. Finer one, but no collar. So we've got to set the bearing thing back up. 2 washers. Washer in underneath. Check which way that goes. That's that way. Okay, for this. Oh, it's nice to do this at a workbench now. In there. Allen key just to pull everything to where I want it. And wiggle it about a little bit. Tighten it up. So you see what I'm doing? Got the wheel go around. I put the bolt this time just on the top for me. It's going to be out the way for what I want. Check it goes round. Just for a bit of beach that's locked up there. That's good. I just want enough on here. If you took a line there, right, have that facing towards you. That's a guide now. I need my tool rest. If I lay the cutter on top, so the tool rest is out here, it comes on. I need to be able to get the cutter level with that. Now I'm also going to bring up the collar. Slide it up. Haven't used the collar as yet. And this is the only difference really, I think, Frederick, between what you said about the two makes. It goes on there. So on here, I've got a pencil mark on the end here, which you can't quite see. Okay, you can see up on here, comes out. Got the tool there. I need to be able to set that so I'm about center height with the cutter. That's good. Next thing I can do is adjust how much angle I want. At the moment, we're almost 12 o'clock. I can bring the tool rest in a bit to there. And again, logical things to do with this. If you turn the work round, does the wheel spin? Okay. Not too bad. I want to get a bit more. Now, at the moment, I am set up on the end collar, dead on 12 o'clock. I'll turn it round so I can see it. I'm sorry. 12 there. I'm going to come to 1. So I've got a little bit of tilt. Fiddly to do from here. That's better. So if I sit it on top of the work now, the cutter now, instead of being dead level, tilted very slightly. You can see it there. That looks good. So I'm sat on the flat on the back of this bar. That allows it to tilt a bit. Okay. Again, we can put the lathe on. Again, try and keep your speed down to control. It got issue though, look. Let's get it back in that mark properly. Okay, better. So, drop this on. Now, when I come onto here, I can make it, and I'm resting almost the bottom of the wheel. First of all, just light pressure, I'm checking the wheel will go round. If it's not going round, you're too flat. So I can go from there, bring it up. So I raise my handle up, almost like a scraper. I'm not going to move anything as yet. I'm just going to create a mark. We've got something as a spiral down here. We'll take it off in a minute. You'll be able to have a look, okay? Just out of picture of it, Ben. Let's come back a bit then. Let's go to there, all right? Do exactly the same. I'll keep my hand underneath for you. I'm getting sawdust. Now, without moving anything, you can see you get a spiral. That's your best thing to start with on this. First of all, you've got your tilt angle right. You've got something as a position. Now, if you wanted to create a spiral up the workpiece, having got that spiral, I can go back into it. I can gently start to move it along. Don't go putting too much pressure. To do this, the weird thing is now my right foot's moving out a little bit. I've shifted my weight to my right foot. So my body stance is changing. I can then bring the handle back, and I'm using my thumb on the left hand as a pivot point. So I jot along a bit. Do the same again. Hold it in the position we're in. So I'll keep cutting, keep spinning. You go round. And again, you're using this more like a scraper with the tip angled downwards. That bevel edge is on the top. I could come all the way back along there for one. Okay. Now I think you can probably see it. Ben sat there nodding nicely, which is good. Spiral. Ooh. Quite fine one. Okay. Going to put it back in. We're going to do the same thing again. Just got to get that in line up. That's good. Okay. Now I am one position off a center on that bar, on the collar, to the right. If I undo this, and this is going back to the comment you asked earlier, Ben, we switch it back over, go one position to the left. Check where we are. That's good. Lock things off. Check where we are there. Not quite central on my tailstock again, but we'll be all right. We're getting a spin. Raise my handle up. Creating a cut. Not trying to push through too hard. Let the cutter do the work. Oh, bouncing a bit there, I pushed too hard. Chipping out a bit more than the height there. You should. Let's see what I got. Get a crossover effect. Not as clean as I kind of hope, but not bad. Bring it up. Oh, that way around. All right, so you can do crossover. The other thing we've got to do, I'll get back in there. Okay. Just going to change now down to the smaller one, because a few of you are going to go, okay, only the big one does this. No, go with the smaller one. Going to go with this because I've already got the collar on. This again has an indicator, has a bar, so I can set up my scale, a little bit of tilt. This is coarser cutter, not fine one, which is what we just used. I can tilt it. Not going round like I want. Why not? Okay. Ugh. Get the cutter free. That'll be better. Again, raise the handle up. Coming underneath. Have a look in a second. So I'm just going to play around, change the tilt angle, go over a little bit more. Same thing, probably ought to bring speed down just a little bit. Again, by raising the handle up from here, really important on this. So we can do something that's quite similar. I've changed the angle, so the more tilt you add again, bring it down, got to turn around, other end. So we should be down here, Jason. There you go. Get a nice spiral. Okay. What about, get that back in. Just going to clean up. First one, need to get that round. I'm going to do something you probably shouldn't do. How about we make a bead? So spindle roughening gouge. I was really trying to clean up and get me back to round, so I'm off centre on the tailstock. So I'm trying to be nice and fast with that. Left a line. Better. Try a bit of a hollow. It's obviously not everything that you're going to make is going to be dead straight, is it? Find a one on there. Just set it up so height wise, probably a tiny bit high now. Same rules apply as you've got to do with normal spindle work with this. You can't come uphill. You'll break the fibres out. So I can come down, come along, in my angle. I can push it into there. I'm going to roll over a little bit. I'm using freehand. We can get our spiral coming into there. We go, oh, they've both got the same. Of course, the colour on this one, I just need to alter because I'm going to come the other way. I'm going to tilt this over. Now, that way. So I can draw around that shape. I'd like to. There it is. This is a good tip, Ben. On this small one, they have that little brass collar. Depending on which way you've used it, you can tighten it up. You can't undo it. Drill chuck. All right, easiest way to grip it. It's just changing the cutter. I want the one that's got the chamfer on both sides. Back in. Got to bring it more upright. I can use the collar on this to help this. Got to bring the toe rest up a little bit. There, a tiny bit high. Nice and firm. Back along it. Okay. Wonder if we can do. I did find you can push this in. Now I can either do what I've just done, which is quite brutal. There's nothing to stop you creating a V-line. Come over one. Again, handle high as you start to cut. Have a quick look then. Come over to there. That show in the middle there. That's better. All those little dots and things. So again, if you colour, lime and wax, can look fantastic. All right, now I've got a couple of bits. Where did we put? I mean, we showed you this one earlier. Lots of different spirals and textures and shape on this. Ben thought I was making a totem pole. Coming down through. Crossover one down here. There's lots of different things you can do when you start playing. Lovely long spirals. A bit of beach isn't that expensive to have a play with, which is good. Okay, Ben, you got any more questions? We had a flurry earlier. Well, hopefully we're all right. Kind of getting to that bit. Now, I know we haven't done any faceplate work. I think I'm going to look at that. We'll do that as another session where we can do some bow work and stuff and show you how we can decorate that. But that's a whole nother thing again. And that'll be really good to look at. Major thing with this lathe speed. Reduce it. We've shown you how you can sharpen it. Little diamond file. Easiest way to restore it. They come pretty well set up. Look after them. Don't go banging things together too much. Timber, something suitable. Don't go using sort of pine, spalted beech. Things that are too soft aren't going to work nicely. So it'll work better. And, you know, beech, if it's nice and dry, will be good. The tulip works nicely. Ash will probably work. Bit open grain for the colouring, though. That's the only downside with that one. Ooh, I think that's pretty much it. So, Ben, all right? So just remember, Colwyn is in Sittingbourne Saturday. Okay, so if you have your photo taken, it costs you £5 each. You send the money to me and Ben on an 8x4 sheet of plywood. Okay, because and it's got to be birch ply if you're going to send the £5 in. All right, so he will be there if you want to go and see him. All right, so we look forward to seeing you next week. More woodworking wisdom. Thanks, guys. Bye then.